bottom tri-bush here that could signal for an invade on the blue buff, although normally, Dr. Mundo not necessarily a champion who requires that blue buff for more than experience and speed throughout the jungle, so Brutal Force might be going for an invade on here just to get the blue buff stolen away from him. Shyvana, also a jungler that doesn't necessarily need the blue buff to continue through the jungle, but still, denying resources to the enemy team is the key of jungle invading. Also, if you're able to pick up a kill or two because of that one, that's only even better for your team. Right now we see actually Team Green Forest is really spread out. Like I said, doing that line of scrimmage kind of thing where everybody's kind of lining up across the river waiting to see where everybody is. And uh-oh, Team Brutal Force is going to be coming in here. Soraka looks to be a little out of position. Pinky really wants to get out of there. Alistar is leading the charge. He has Pulverized. Does not want to flash for it though. They're just going to go into this bush, which is warded. So Team Green Forest knows exactly what's up here. But they are staking up claim over by Green Forest Blue. And it looks like Green Forest is going to react to this one. They're going to be going in on Alistar. Silence goes down. He can't pulverize. He is entirely though. He has to flash out of there. Gets a pulverize down though. Now is an exhaust on Mundo. They're trying to focus down Koala, and Misfortune will pick up the kill, but not before Corgi can get a nice kill on Yorick. There's a lot of action going on here at level 1. Corgi is going to die to an Ignite and sheer DPS from Cassiopeia. Green Forest on the retreat. Misfortune now getting a double kill as she picks up a kill on that Trundle. Not able to melt down the Alistar that was so low in the beginning of that fight. And it looks like that Brutal Force, almost getting the blue buff stolen from them by Anivia, but not enough damage at level 1 on that Ice Spirit. And a 3-for-1, a stolen blue buff, and that range carry Misfortune in the bottom lane has 2 kills to start the game. That is definitely what Brute Force wanted, and definitely not what Green Forest wanted to happen in that invade.
Yeah, exactly. So just to recap, I think that the stream came back up in time to catch that fight. There was a little bit of issue with XSplit kind of crashing. That's why I was letting you do all the work. But yeah, I definitely do have that recorded. I'll have it up on my YouTube later if anyone missed that first fight. But basically what happened was they did go for that level 1 aggression, and of course did pick up several kills from that. And like you said, Misfortune does have those 2 kills. Just went straight back picking up 2 Dorans, 3 health potions, and the boots. Good gosh, that is going to be a scary bottom lane for these guys. If it wasn't already, and it was already a scary bottom lane, but now it's just going to be terrifying. And
she has 19 more damage than Corki at the start of this game. I don't know if Corki's going to be able to live through that, even though Soraka has the armor buff. You got to keep in mind, too, that Misfortune with Impure Shots is going to be stacking additional magic damage on top of that already almost 100 base attack damage. So she is just a monster at the beginning of this game right now.
All right, well, really good start. They're going to have to definitely play it safe on this bottom lane and make sure that they know exactly what they're up against here. And I'm also going to have to keep an eye up on this top and see if the little ghoul trick that you were talking about is actually going to work for Trundle's favor, where he gets his health back whenever those ghouls die.
Yeah, unfortunately, at the early stages of the game, 2% of Trundle's health is not a lot, so it's going to be very hard to try to see what it is. The cool thing is it's going to be allied and enemies, that whenever a unit, I'm sorry, it's actually only enemies, whenever an enemy unit dies. So those last hits, all those little ghouls and everything should be healing Trundle up. So like I said, a little bit more of a different kind of sustaining champion. Plus he has the mobility from that contaminate. He has the ability to block people from coming in, getting the Pillar of Filth. So he should be relatively safe, and it should just be kind of a farm fest in that top lane right now.
Agreed. And they're playing so very passively on the bottom, which of course you're going to have to expect that. There's not much there's no smart person would engage on an Alistar and a Misfortune that's already fed with 2 Dorans. So I can only see this kind of turning around if they get a really good gank coming in from Mundo. But I don't know what he's going to be able to do. Let's see. He actually did do a different start this time. He went for a cloth armor and 5 health potions rather than his previous start with the Ruby Crystal.
So he's not going to have that same kind of gold pretend at the early stages of the game, which means he is going to have to rely a little more on his jungle for experience, of course, on top of gaining gold. So he's not going to be able to sit around in those bushes without paying more of a penalty than he did in the previous game. And Corki, even though he's playing super passively, doing a really great job of freezing the lane right outside of tower range. So he does have a little bit of a CS advantage on this Misfortune.
Yeah, they're trying to push it up to force him to miss those, but in his favor, they're just not. He's playing well enough that it's not really affecting him. A lot of players do get affected by that, but then you have these guys who they're just experts at this bottom lane CS action, and if you push against them, you're actually going to be hurting yourself.
And then it looks like that Mundo's going in the bottom lane here. They are going to start to go and engage on this Alistar. He is getting dropped a little bit low. Mundo, I don't think he's going to land a cleaver. Does get the hit on Misfortune. Exhaust is going to go off, forcing Alistar to come back for a pulverize, and that's going to let Corki set up for a kill. So that is the kind of advantage that TGF is going to need in that bottom lane to start spiraling it back in their favor. Just a little bit of an over-aggression there by that Misfortune and Alistar. Those early kills, probably a little too cocky for them. And Mundo came in. All he needed was like 1 or 2 cleavers, and that gank just turned in favor of TGF now.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that if he just continues this small CS lead and keeps widening that, as well as those ganks from Koala, this is definitely going to be turning out into Corki's favor. I feel like Corki could definitely be a much bigger threat in the late game if he continues to do well like this.
And while that little skirmish is going down in the bottom lane, we did see Shyvana went up for a gank on Trundle in top lane. Nothing really came of it besides sending Trundle back. We see he's gotten pieces for his Wriggles Lantern, so going for an even more sustainy build in the top lane against Yorick. Yorick actually decided to go back too and pick up some items on his first trip back. Enough for his tier that got us, so he's going to be spamming spells left and right. But that Trundle, between that passive and the Wriggles Lantern he's going to be making, I don't think he's going to really be affected by that Yorick spam. Like I said, just going to be a farm fest to the top lane.
Yeah, he even bought 5 health potions. He plans on staying in that lane for a while. He's not going to get pushed out. But with this gank on bottom lane, let's see if it will be... No, he does have a ward, so very nice coverage of that. That should help them out considerably. They know exactly where that Shyvana is going, and so she could possibly get caught if she is not careful here. Just going to place down a ward and head back. And Nivea was sitting on the other side of that wall looking like she can make something happen. They don't have vision of this. Just going to get that blue stolen. Since they did take it early on, they have that timer. And even if they didn't have the timer, you can always pretty much know when the blue's going to come up. Around 7.5 minutes. If you want to steal that blue buff, just go into the enemy jungle around that time and you can take it. And that's pretty much just your common counter jungle knowledge if you were wanting to know that. But look up top lane. We're going to have Mundo coming in here. He does have the red buff. Nice pillar from the Trundle. And there goes the cleaver. Have to flash out of there. Will it be enough? I don't think he can get away if they continue to dive this. And it's going to be really close. They are going to take a lot of tower damage as they continue to dive it. But yeah, it looks like he is just going to say back off and play it safe. They don't want to give up any kills to that York, as he could have just ulted himself and went in for a few extra kills.
Yeah, you have to be very, very careful. That red buff for Mundo wearing out the least opportune time ever in the middle of that gank. That just did not have enough slow to continue onto the gank. And if that red buff stayed up, you wouldn't be able to get Yorick before he was too far back under his tower. But while we had that engagement going on, Team Brutal Force taking the first dragon of the game. Relatively quick dragon. That was about the 8-minute mark. Normally you would see a dragon, you know, kind of going more towards the 10-minute mark of the game. So that just attests to the fact that they have such map dominance towards the middle and bottom of that lane. They went up, applied pressure on the bottom lane. Corki had to go back after they stole that blue buff, moved on to dragon, and now have fallen back to each other's lanes and everything. Even Shyvana decided to go back to buy some items. On par with that Dr. Mundo. Even though Mundo got his jungle invaded and Shyvana's kind of been running around for ganks and dragons and blue steals and everything, both of them are on about the same pace right now, so no gain or no loss for either team. They're just doing a really great job keeping up with their little advantages and disadvantages throughout the beginning of this game.
So far, this has been a really exciting game. A lot of a lot of play back and forth between the teams. After that really crazy early action, it seems like, obviously TBF hasn't been able to take those kills, or sorry, take any more kills. But that jungle play just shows that they're really on top of things. They say, okay, there's 2 up top. That's the perfect opportunity to go for that dragon, and that's kind of what you really see in these really high level matches. Is they take advantage of any opportunity given to them. And on the top, once again, Koala coming in for another gank. Now using his exhaust onto Slayer. I don't know if it's going to be enough to kill him. He is getting really close to that tower. Will they dive it? I think it might be enough. He comes in here, but look at this. 2 people coming in from behind. Shyvana actually missing her dragon. And Koala really getting low. That damage from this Cassiopeia is going to be enough with the Ignite to take him down. Looks like our Trundle will be making his escape. So that's going to be a 1-for-1 trade with those 2 people coming in from the behind to help out.
Yeah, although that was very unfortunate because they timed that gank a little ill properly, as Anivia had gone back to pick up a Chalice to Harmony and the start of her Catalyst. So she was back missing from her lane. That allowed Cassiopeia. We saw her actually going down by blue buff, picking up a refreshed blue buff after stealing the enemies, picking up her own when that came up. So she's going to have blue buff for a very, very long time. And there's just nobody in that middle lane to really follow through on that gank. So what was originally a 2-versus-1 in favor of TGF turned into a 3v2 in favor of Team Brutal Force, and still trading 1-for-1, the best that TGF probably could have expected from that one.
Yep, agreed there. And I would say the one thing that is in favor of Swift is that he does have both of his summoners up, whereas Cassiopeia did use him in that gank. Of course, she did get the kill, so, you know, that's fine as well. Now, let's see. Swift should be fine as lane. Of course, no blue buff and quite low on mana as well. We'll see how that plays out. They, I'm guessing, have the timer on this next blue buff, so we'll see if they actually go in there and contest it this time. And I'm talking about TGF. Let's see if they can actually pick up their own blue buff.
Yeah, that should be coming up around the 12:40 marker, so if my memory serves correctly. But because of that lack of blue buff, it has prompted Navy to go back and pick up a Chalice of Harmony. I don't think we saw her getting that in the previous game, if I recall correctly. But because she needs that mana and she needs the ability to spam that R in order to clear the lane out, like Cassiopeia is just by spamming Qs with that blue buff constantly on her. Nivea even have to go back here because she's extremely low on mana. Maybe has enough gold to go pick up another item. She is going to finish that Catalyst before she comes back, but still, needing that Chalice of Harmony, it will add magic resistance, so it's not necessarily a dead-end item for her, but needing to pick that up due to lack of blue buff is a very, very huge expense for that solo middle player.
Agreed. All right, so far it seems pretty even on farm. I'm trying to see some discrepancies in farm. Most of the gold advantage has been going due to the dragon. I'm guessing if you look at that. So no real team has a huge clear advantage right now. They do see Morris is better there, standing in that bush. He's not going to be able to get any crazy ganks off. They are aware of him standing there. Now he knows it as well, since the Corki did shoot a rocket at him and hit him in the face.
So yeah, he knows that that bush is warded. There's actually a pink ward on that bush, which is very interesting because even if Team Brutal Force had that river pink warded, they wouldn't be able to see the pink ward in the bush. A very excellent placement by Soraka and Pinku, and it looks like both teams know the timing of this bluff. They both have those wards down, and looks to be like Team Brutal Force wants to go for another buff steal on this one.
Yeah, they're definitely going for it. Will they be able to take it? It looks like it's a very simple steal for them, and they're just going to back right off of there. TGF not in a good enough position to actually stop that, probably feeling themselves that they're not strong enough to even fight them right now. Shyvana's in a very scary position. She's just one of those champions that can put out so much damage if she jumps on top of you. Of course, you know, she does have her ultimate and everything, so yeah, she would have really been a force to reckon with.
Yeah, and right now, Team Green Forest is kind of a position that they put Legion in last game, where they have to play a little bit more towards the later stages of the game before their comps are really going to be able to kick in, whereas Team Brutal Force is pressing every single early advantage that they can, and it's really forcing TGF to play on the back pedal. Even though they had a good position to go in on that blue buff, they just kind of opted not to because they didn't think that they were strong enough at that point. So they really just kind of need to sit back, farm themselves up, and get into a little bit more of a commanding position. Because like you said, even though they're down in kills right now and they're down in gold count, the gold count is pretty much only 2,000, which makes up for a little bit of a farming discrepancy in that middle lane there, and the dragons that has gone.
Okay, I'm just laughing at this middle here. Trix keeps trying to go back, and Anivia walked up, put a wall to push her back, and then she walked a little bit farther, tried to go back again, and she shot an ice blast at her. She's just like, no, you're not going anywhere. So just a little bit of annoying poke action from Swift here to put him back in place.
Hey, any couple seconds that keeps Cassiopeia from achieving something that she wanted to do, which was going back and picking up that Will of the Ancients, is a couple extra seconds that Swift is going to be climbing up to try to get advantage on that Cassiopeia.
Oh, so look at that dragon coming up just in time. They put the vision ward down there to take out the enemy vision. So this is going to be a full-on engage. Both teams are here ready to go. Only ones missing are the top lane, so this is going to be a 4-on-4 action. Who is stronger? Seems like they're going to go ahead and start this. They do have Shyvana putting out all of the damage. She's got her, I think her, oh no, she doesn't have her wriggles actually, but either way, this is going to be a nasty engage with the dragon attacking it, but look at that nice ultimate coming in for Misfortune. Shyvana gets really low, exhaust being used onto, oh man, this is really bad. Here comes a teleport from Slayer, and will it be enough to finish them off? So far, we've got one kill down, but no one dead on the enemy team, and they are getting extremely low. Can they finish off Shyvana? She does make it out with that move speed. This is such a crazy fight. And I'm just waiting for more people to go down, but everybody's health is so low. There's the flash being used. Slayer does pick up a kill with that flash, and that makes it a 0-for-2 trade. Not picking up that dragon, but overall, pretty crazy fight.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see that. Once again, that Shyvana got extremely, extremely low, much like Alistar did in the beginning of that level 1 invade, and Team Green Forest just not able to capitalize and finish off on those kills, and it really starts making a bad situation. They got funneled into that Misfortune ultimate, which immediately took down one of their members, and then just the continued prolonged fight, they just did not have the damage they needed to. That Shyvana constantly dancing in and out and in and out of the fight, they kept losing focus and wanting to go in on her, trying to look like he might have been able to pick up a kill on Misfortune or even a kill on the Alistar, as both were extremely low, but decided to go straight for that Shyvana because she was even lower, and instead of winding up getting a situation where he's stuck near his team and possibly was able to pick up a kill, he kind of got headbutted into a wall and wound up dying after a flash from Yorick.
Yeah, I really like that fight. I was like so back and forth. I thought for sure they would pick up that Shyvana, but her move speed is so ridiculous, and you know, obviously if they had dove onto that, they would have ended up losing more than it was worth. So.
Yeah, and that Shyvana already with the extra armor and the extra magic resistance found that dragon form is going to be a very, very hard threat in this fight. They tried focusing down on her just to no avail. Once she popped that ultimate, just enough to live, and then, you know, just enough to bait the entire team of Team Green Forest into a situation where they just actually weren't as ahead as they thought they were. And now, you know, they had the early disadvantage from the jungle invade. They kind of tried to get it back a little bit, but right now, down 3 kills and down an ever-increasing amount of gold, almost 4K at this point, maybe like 3.5K at this point. You know, now here we go again, another contention over this dragon.
Yeah, let's see if they can actually get a better fight going on here. Of course, no teleport this time, so it's going to be a lot harder for TBF to completely win out on this fight. Of course, he does have her ultimate. They took the dragon very easy. They weren't able to get in there and engage on that in time, so that is going to give them even larger advantage. So I guess TGF just wasn't able to really get in there on that in time.
No, definitely not. Once again, that Misfortune ultimate, they kind of like waited for the dragon to get extremely low, looking like maybe Mundo wanted to smite it or something along the lines of that, but that Misfortune ultimate kind of just told him to back off. Corki took a face full of bullets, and he got to about half health just from that Misfortune ultimate. So if they had tried to capitalize on something after that dragon or gone for a smite steal on that one, it would have gone extremely, extremely south. So very good job of Team Green Forest backing out from that one, but they can't back up forever because look at this. Their blue buff at the same time as it respawns. The entire team of Team Brutal Force is right here to steal it, and it goes down in an instant. So they have not gotten anything from their own jungle besides red buff since the game has begun, and they have gotten no towers, no dragons, and they're downing kills right now. So Team Brutal Force doing a great job of really controlling the map and controlling the enemy side of the map this entire game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that can be learned from this if you are a team that is really working on you know, winning more games. Look at all of the control, the perfect timing. They have everything perfectly timed on when the buffs are going to be up, and they all go there, and they have this great pushing early game team advantage, you know, team comp, and it's really paying off for them, and you know, very heavily. If you're not going to be playing against somebody who's super high skill level, you can win so many games using this type of a strategy if you pull it off correctly. But top lane looks like a gank going to be coming in. Exhaust being used on Slayer. He's using his ultimate to try and do a little bit of extra damage. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough. He is going to get dove on this tower. He will fall. Allies coming in just like last time. Let's see, they're gonna pick off that koala. This feels like a repeat of an earlier situation with Trundle running off to the side under the. Is this the Matrix? Are we seeing some deja vu?
I don't know about that one, but it's the exact same gank that went on last time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you know, now Cassiopeia is not going to have... Actually, she has both summoners this time, so it's not an exact repeat. And they're actually going to try to dive this Trundle. Exhaust going off on Trundle is a flash from Cassiopeia. He's poisoned. He's ignited. There go the 2 summoner spells being burned by that Cassiopeia. We see bottom tower in the meantime. Taken down by Misfortune. And actually, there's a fight down on bottom while that Trundle runs away. There's a Corki ultimate going off, trying to get that Alistar down very, very low. He and Misfortune actually running away from Corki, but Corki's without his Soraka at this point. Misfortune taking a large chunk of damage, though. That Corki's not doing a bad job.
Yeah, he's got that Infinity Edge, so that's where that came from. I don't know if it was just me, but it looked like Alistar flashed and used his Pulverize, and just maybe he missed the direction on his flash because it hit nothing. And I don't know if that's just me in looking at that incorrectly, but maybe.
No, his flash is down. His Pulverize was on cooldown. I guess Alistar just got really, really angry and decided to pound the ground, and I realized that nobody was there.
But like, I'm pissed!
Oh, I'm so mad! But I don't know. He can't really be mad at anything. We do have this cool thing in spectator mode that lets us change the vision right now. And as you're talking about map control from Team Brutal Force, if you hit the F1 key to show the vision of the blue team, you basically see no difference besides the fact you can't see the enemy nexus at that point.
Exactly.
Whereas if you hit the F2 key to see Team Green Forest vision, they have vision of their bottom lane, and that's about it. So extremely, extremely good job of keeping the map completely lit up by Team Brutal Force, and you can only see that it's paying off in dividends right now, as they have basically every blue buff to ever spawn in Summoner's Rift right now.
Yeah, and you would think that TGF should be able to get that warded, but with Alistar running around with that Oracle, is he just making it impossible for them to get their own ward coverage going on without having to go on and engage on him, and it's just going to be very difficult for them to do so.
Yeah, that Mundo was not able to start with a hearted gold like he wanted to, as in he did last game, so he did not get a very early Oracle's Elixir. We saw Mundo picking up an Oracle's Elixir, I believe it was at the 12-minute mark in the game against Legion. Yes. So right now it is the 21-minute mark, and he has not had an Oracle's Elixir, so that map dominance definitely going in favor of Team Brutal Force. Green Forest does finally have an Oracle's Elixir on that Soraka, so she's going to be trying to roam around and do everything and counter ward, etc., etc. That's just going to leave her Corki exposed right now, and whereas the support character from Brutal Force is doing the same thing, but they've taken down a tower. They're already in this kind of roaming gang squad mode, and I just think their Oracle's Elixir is going to be a little bit more effective right now with the already dominating map presence they have.
Yeah, that's the one thing about having an Oracles as a winning team, is that it kind of helps you snowball a lot harder than it's really hard to pick up on Oracles and use it effectively whenever you're behind like this.
That is the thing, because since you're already behind in the game, you don't have as much map presence as possible, and the only thing you're really doing is denying them any further vision than they already have. And at this point, you can already see that Team Green Forest is basically pushed back behind the river on all fronts. So all they're really doing is denying any advanced wards that Brutal Force is going to be placing in their own jungle, which has been a point in contention for them, so you can't really blame them for wanting to pick that up, but they are not going to be able to be aggressive with the Oracles, and therefore they're not going to be able to counter ward and gain vision back in their favor. And like you said, it's not necessarily what you want to be doing with an Oracle's Elixir. If you can't be aggressive and you can't get yourself the vision at the same time as you're denying it, it's not going to be as effective. Whereas if you're already in the position to deny the wards, like Alistar just came up and smacked the ward down in the bush, they're rewarding the enemy blue buff, and they just have overall domination of the map.
Yeah, I'm really liking what they're doing here. You know, of course, the game is still anyone's to win. There's the opportunity for TGF to get a nice team fight in. That Corki is getting quite strong. He's got his Infinity Edge built up. He is going to be going for his attack speed at this point. So kind of curious as to how things are going to play out. Right now, still yet another blue buff. I believe that has been every single blue buff that has spawned up to this point has gone now to TBF and every single dragon. There's just absolutely no way that they can contest this. These guys are doing their best, but TBF with full control of everything. I mean, I feel bad for TGF at this situation. It's like, what do they do?
I mean, I would feel bad for TGF in this situation too, but the fact of the matter is that Corki has done a very, very good job out-farming Miss Fortune, actually getting a slight advantage on her. He does not have the extra Doran's Blade she's able to pick up. As we see, it looks like a little bit of a Baron bait here by Team Brutal Force. He does not have the extra Doran's Blade, but he's keeping on par with the Zeals and the Infinity Edges that Miss Fortune has. So both of them are going to be able to be dealing relatively the same amounts of damage, but the spell package on Corki, if he doesn't wander into any open Miss Fortune ultimates and he starts firing off those missile barrages, he has a phosphorus bomb, he has Gatling gun, I think right now his damage output might be a little bit higher than Miss Fortune, and if TGF can play to that advantage, they're really going to be able to turn around a team fight on Team Brutal Force's head, and that could give them the advantage that they need to regain map control and kind of slowly come back into the game they already have a deficit in.
Yeah, the one other thing that you are going to have to really note, however, is that you're going to have the Yorick ultimate being placed onto that Miss Fortune, which is kind of going to double the effectiveness if they're not careful. So in one sense, you could say, well, sure, the Corki is stronger right now than Miss Fortune, but you're going to be up against two Miss Fortunes, which kind of might change things a little bit.
We all know that twins are better anyway, right, Colby?
Twins, Basil. All right. So they continue to take down these wards. They will be starting on this Baron, forcing out a fight or just taking a free Baron at this point. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get there in time. In fact, Trundle is teleporting up. He was trying to take the bottom tower. Will it be enough? They are going to start that fight. It's a 4v5 situation right now. Ultimate coming down, hitting just about everybody on Misfortune. And looks like the Morris is better, just barely getting out of there with no health at all. He's so lucky. Look at their HP. It's just so low. And they do take down the Trundle. He teleported in, just wasn't able to help himself out. Down goes Mundo, not able to go where he pleases at this point. Pinku falls. This looks like a really, really bad situation for TGF. Not only do they take all these kills, but they're probably going to be able to push down a turret or two in this process as well. Of course, in their favor, they do have 2 champions that are able to kind of hold back the waves a little bit. I just don't know if it'll be enough. They'll probably get dove if they stay in on this. So that was a 5-for-3 situation. Nice Baron bait altogether.
And I don't know about you, but Team Brutal Force still has that Yorick ultimate up. He did not burn it on Misfortune. He didn't burn it on anybody on the team. It was no people going down for Brutal Force, 3 people going down for Green Forest. They are going to have their people up right now. They have snagged this inhibitor. Nivea was trying to get a nice wall. They kind of trapped him in there, but they just didn't have the sheer damage enough to take down Yorick or Cassiopeia. Both of them just barely below half health right now. And they're trying to chase him down, but a nice little cleaver lands there. But now Shyvana and Alice start joining up. This could be a presence for a little bit more of a team fight, but Yorick still has an ultimate, and if they try to get in a team fight against low HP champions right now, there's still double Misfortune they have to deal with. And to be completely honest, after watching that team fight at Baron, I don't know if TGF has the utility they need to take down 2 Misfortunes after losing to only 1.
Exactly, and they had everyone there. Of course, Trundle did teleport in. I'm not sure if he came a little bit too late or whatever, but it's just that right now TBF has TGF right in their grasp. They can force engages where they want on their terms, and that's kind of the way you want to, that's the situation you want to be in this game. If you can control the pacing of the game, which they've been doing all game long, then there's not a lot that the enemy team can do save for wait for you to make a mistake. And thus far, TBF has not made any real mistakes. They've played flawlessly from what I can tell.
Oh yeah, they've had wards exactly when they needed to. They've been up to date on every single one of those timers. That blue buff for TGF still is not up and is still not in their possession. That has really weighed down on Swiss and Nivea. He had to get a Chalice of Harmony, stopping the advancement of his Rod of Ages. Now it looks like they're going in on Baron again, but Mundo's going to walk in directly into 2 ultimates, tanking through them. Baron's going to go down in the meantime. Misfortune picking up the kill on Mundo with an ultimate from her and Cassiopeia. And now TGF just kind of has to retreat. They're going to be pushed on by a full 5 force of TBF with Baron. And they might actually be going to clear out the enemy jungle before they do anything else. They probably still have the timer on that blue buff.
Yeah, you know, you might be right. But if not, then that tower's already got all those creeps there. It's going to be very easy for them to go in on that. If ColbyCheeZe is here, he will get dove from behind. You can see Morris is better, trying to come in from behind. Nice pillar there. Trundle going to stop him from that advance. But they are just going to continue pushing this in as much as possible. Mundo is finally back up after trying to go headstrong into that Baron. He didn't even make it in there. He went as far as he possibly could. Just unfortunately could not do that.
No, he got met with the force of 2 ultimates from Cassiopeia and Misfortune. That melted down even the tankiest of Mundos underneath the sheer firepower, poison, and paralysis given by that. But we did see Cassiopeia, while they were pushing down that turret, just turned around and took the blue buff. They have the timer on that still. So still denying resources to Team Green Forest, promoting every single advantage that they can. They have a Baron buff. They're systematically going through and taking down all the turrets. I wouldn't be surprised if after getting this top turret, they decide not to push in and fall back like they decide to be doing here. Clear out both sides of the jungle, buy up all the items with all the buffs and everything cleared out from the entirety of the map. They'll still probably have 2 minutes or a little bit less on that Baron buff timer, and they'll be able to just to push straight through on Team Green Forest with all their resources denied right now. They can only really hope for a miracle defense at that point.
Yeah, it looks like Soraka grabbing herself another Oracle is going to be very crucial in order for them to push out and give themselves any kind of hope for really doing anything. They've lost their inhibitor, so they're going to be very defensive at this point. Still, you know, Baron going to be up for still half the duration. Another dragon being picked up. Geez, this is really, really scary at this point. It's going to be up to TGF to really make a big play, or I'd say maybe even up to TBF to just make a mistake right now.
Yeah, they do have about a 13k gold advantage, which is very, very large advantage. And right now, if you just take a look, 11 kills to 4. That Mundo, who was such a team player and such a big factor in the game against Legion, he was 7-1 in that game. Now he's 0-6. He's really been denied all throughout this entire game. His jungle has been cleared, and he really can't do anything on those ganks. He was coming into gank on Trundle up top, but they just kept turning it around, like you said, in deja vu situations where it looked like we saw that gank play out before. Corky doing an excellent job of staying ahead, almost 50 CS to this misfortune, but 50 CS cannot make up the 4-kill deficit at this point. And like you said, that Yorick Ghost still going to be able to pop down on misfortune. We haven't actually seen it popped on her yet. I think we've only actually seen it once in the top lane when he was being ganked, but still, they have that up the sleeve in their arsenal. And if TGF is really having a problem against just the sheer team composition that Brutal Force is laying on them right now, once they double that range carry, it's really not going to be any better and any more in their favor. So like you said, it's not necessarily as much up to TGF making a brilliant play, but them doing that on top of Brutal Force, getting caught out of position or making some sort of mistake that would really lead to an advantage for TGF.
Yeah, I will say that TGF at least has a great defensive force going on here. They've got the opportunity to kind of hold them back using Anivia. Of course, no tower here on this inhibitor, so they're going to walk right in here and do some damage to that. Don't think that TGF can defend it without getting dove on and destroyed, so they are going to play it safe. Let them take that inhibitor for free, especially since that Baron buff is still up. They do not want to engage at this point. Right now, I think they just want to get late game, and that's going to be very difficult to do. You see that you know, you've got Mundo here still at level 12, and they're just going to power down past this turret, take it down the second inhibitor while also pushing top with Yorick.
And that was not the mistake that Green Forest wanted to make. Corky getting out of position. They saw that Brutal Force backed off in the middle inhibitor. Corky stuck his nose out in the bottom lane for just a second and immediately got dove on. And that might just spell the end of Green Forest right now, as they really needed Corky to be their DPS since he was the most farmed character in the game at this point. Just look at the sheer damage Cassiopeia is putting on the Mundo. Unfortunately, they really can't do anything but let these inhibitors fall and try to play defensively.
Yeah, so that's 3 inhibs down. Be very difficult for them to defend this. All that TBF has to do at this point is wait for those super minions to approach, and while they are trying to defend the super minions, they can just walk right in there and clean up those turrets.
Yeah, the Baron buff is down right now. They are deciding to go back and it looks like to be picking up some more items, picking up the last of the jungle buffs once again, doing the same thing that they did. Now that they're ahead, they're going to get more ahead. They're going to clear out both sides of the jungle, make sure they have all of their buffs. Cassiopeia is going to pick up a blue buff because why not? Cassiopeia can get a blue buff if she wants to. She's probably going to recall and maybe pick up her Rabbidan's death cap. She has enough money for it. She has almost 12,000 gold in this game right now. That's ridiculous. She is
so much, yes.
13,000 on that misfortune. Like we said, Corky doing a great job at about 10,500 gold, but still, he only has more gold than the Alistar in the enemy team. Oh, and the Shyvana. She's down by about a couple hundred gold. So
yeah, not a large amount. I mean, she was jungle, so they tend to just kind of run around and gank a lot. So right now, that's pretty much them waiting for Cassiopeia to group up and clean this final find up. They've got these super minions coming in here. Corky does seem to be doing a good job of at least taking them out quickly, but eventually they will group up if the Team TBF just runs in there, kind of pushes them back from attacking those super minions. Those super minions will eventually group up together and begin taking down the turrets.
Yeah, and like you said, they're just going in here right now. They have the advantage. They have 3 waves of super minions pushing down. TGF, I guess this is the best position that they want to be in right now. Brutal Force is doing all they can to really just farm up the jungle, and they're kind of denying themselves resources. So if Corky is able to farm up enough, and Anivia is able to farm up enough and do that death cap, they might be able to kind of deter Brutal Force and a little bit of a push onto their Nexus turrets and try to deal as much damage. They take 1 or 2 people out from Brutal Force and they're able to survive. That could be the driving force they need to come back, as dismal as it may look right now. So like you said, that's that kind of little bit of a mistake that Brutal Force could make, thinking they have that much more of an upper hand when maybe they've let Team Green Forest be farming for a little bit too much, and they're backing off right now. They might be waiting for a Baron timer or something, but if these inhibitors respawn and they have to go back in and continue pushing down 3 inhibitors before moving down onto the Nexus again, I mean, it could spell a little bit of a delay that Team Green Forest really needs to come back into this game, but they're going to have a Baron buff. They're coming back as strong as ever. Everybody's basically nearing the end of their item build right now. 35 minutes into the game, they're looking like a scary force still.
Yeah, so they're ready to go. They've got that, yeah, you know, now that Baron buff. Let me see. No red. Yeah, okay. Red on to the Misfortune, so she's gonna have that for a little bit longer. I think this is gonna be the final push. It's gonna be the, you know, well, last stand. Here's the Alamo. Can you do it?
I don't know about this one. They got to don all of their raccoon hats and see if they can Davy Crockett this one up. But it looks like that TGF is pushed back against their Nexus turrets. Walls from Navy are trying to catch that Yorick out of place. But look at the sheer damage output that is going down onto Koala. He is Dr. Mundo, and he has that ultimate on too. So he's just taking a crap load of damage right now. They're just pushing down onto these Nexus turrets. They're not even really taking a lot of damage. Team Brutal Force taking down the first turret. They're trying to clear out creeps and the enemies at the same time. Shyvana ultimate goes off. That's the initiation that they need. Cassiopeia melts Mundo. Soraka's going to fall in, as well as Corki to Misfortune. Just too much damage right here from Team Brutal Force. Cassiopeia cleaning up Anivia. Turno really can't do anything but stand and fountain and watch as the Nexus goes down in game 1 of best of 3. Going to be going right over to Team Brutal Force after a very impressive showing.
Yeah, it was a great game and just came down to such amazing map control, which snowballed just from the very beginning in a 3-1 jungle fight at level 1, taking that blue buff, taking every consecutive blue buff after that point from TGF. Anivia, being one of the most mana-hungry champions in the game, never got one, so just overall made a huge impression on that one. And I have to say, man, these TBF guys, they really impressed me after that game, and I can't wait to see what happens in game number 2.